the little elements that speak to the customer in ways that outside of the design, right? So the color schemes, the elements in the background, even what you're putting on the shirt. If you know the niche inside out, the idea is to get them to wear something that other people, when they look at them, say, "Where'd you get that shirt?" Right? That is the goal.
Mm.
That's the impact you want every single time.
Welcome back to Built Online, the podcast where we dive into everything online business. Here we explore the minds of creators who are building online businesses to power their dream lives and ultimately transform economies. I'm your host, Cody McGuffie, and if you're new here, I'm the founder and CEO of EverBee, a creator commerce platform where we believe that everyone deserves the opportunity to pursue their passions and to live life on their own terms. We're on a mission to make creator commerce accessible to everyone throughout the world, no matter where they are, and to make a positive impact in our families and our communities. And we believe that everyone that truly commits to a vision and pursues it with an undeniable force of will, that they will ultimately succeed. I'm really excited about today's show. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to ask a quick favor for anyone that's listened to the show before. If you haven't already, please let us know if these episodes and these conversations are helpful or not. Share your feedback in the comments and review it if you would. It truly helps the podcast. It helps our team, it helps me personally understand what types of guests that we should have on the podcast. That really just helps us improve the show to make it better. We need your feedback. We would not be able to operate without your feedback. So be sure to follow the podcast, subscribe to the channel wherever you're watching this, so you really never really miss out on that one nugget that can really change your business and change your life. Enough of that. Really excited to have you here. Let's jump into today's show. Great. Jay, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm well, Cody. Nice to finally meet. I feel like we were just kind of chatting, before hitting the record button. It feels like we kind of know each other already a little bit, right?
And it's so true. We were saying like how I feel like I've seen your face so many times. We're in the same chat groups and different groups, and see you on YouTube, listen to you on podcasts. I think you and Leslie had a chat a while back in Belize, uh, for EverBee and stuff. And it's great to finally sit down and actually have a good conversation.
Yeah, it was pretty cool that you guys had Leslie come out to Belize. That was mind blowing, and it's pretty sweet to be able to, I guess, leverage the elements that we have at our disposal, like the internet, for example, being able to live stream from Belize, and the doors that POD has opened up has just been absolute game changer. So yeah, grateful, and humbled to be here, man.
Amazing, man. Super happy to have you on. You have an interesting background, and I personally am. I want to dive into it because I'm just literally curious about why you made the decisions that you've made throughout your life. I mean, you're from Canada. You're now living in Belize. You have
Mhm.
online business money, which means you're supporting your lifestyle with through online digital entrepreneurship, which is very inspiring to me, and also I'm sure it's inspiring to so many people listening to this. Just for anybody that doesn't know Jay, I'll give a quick little what I would describe you as, and then you can fill in the blanks. But Jay is a Canadian. He's a former bank employee turned print on demand and other things. But basically, an online entrepreneur who has built multiple thriving businesses: Etsy, Amazon, paid subscriptions for stuff, generating well over $2.5 million in sales, all through the internet. Fill in the gaps. What did I miss there?
Um, well, yeah, it's kind of crazy when you say the numbers out loud, right? Like I still feel like imposter syndrome, guys. Is absolutely a real thing. Even mentioning this a little bit, I don't always feel like. Yeah, I guess just sometimes you just feel like an imposter until especially when you hear those numbers, right? Because people throw around the words like guru and stuff like that, and I'm never going to profess to know everything because the algorithms are always changing, the platforms are always changing. So it's just humbling to be kind of cast in this kind of group, knowing the people you've had on, before me. But 2 days from now, it'll be a year down here in Belize. And in that came, just by making these steps outside of our comfort zone and doing things that we didn't think we'd be comfortable with, we by default fell into landlordship. So we, instead of wanting to sell our house to come down here and maybe buy something or build something, we had purchased a piece of property, 3 years ago, but then didn't want to pull the trigger on selling our house back home, right? You want to have that safety net. So yeah, we're landlords. It's generating more income than we're putting out down here, um, because of the osmosis in everything. People just saw the move to Belize as like, oh, this golden ticket, and it's not
Mm,
all sunshine and rainbows, but yeah, it's pretty sweet when you take a minute and look at what you're able to do because of POD. And as a result, people were asking for private coaching so much in the last year, and watching our transition down. So that led to, this wasn't me trying to capitalize on the spotlight or anything like that and monetize it. It was just literally people asking for one-on-one coaching over and over. And I don't want to do one-on-one coaching. I was offered like, $1,000 a week for like, two coaching sessions or whatever, to by several people, like ridiculous amounts. I'm like, I don't want to commit to just one-on-one. I'd rather be able to help as many as possible,
mm.
for one of the best bang for bucks out there. I want to make it accessible too. So that kind of led to that. And it was kind of, in my Facebook group, I just put it out there, like, you guys really want this? Is this a thing? Like, because it's gonna be another full time, job,
Sure,
right? So if I'm gonna dive into this and we only have 12 of you show up, then it's like I'm gonna be bleeding money here, right? Because it's
sure.
not gonna cover the platform fees, the subscription fees. There's all kinds of things in the background, but yeah, we went from like zero to close to 300 pretty quickly, which is insane, super validating, especially for a guy who's like chronically ADHD meets imposter syndrome, always like looking at, what
Mhm.
have I done wrong? Is it my still spread too thin, right? That's one of the things. But yeah, man, short story really long. All kinds of stuff. We had our own print shop back in the day. I've always been hustling t-shirts from the get-go, but I don't think you missed anything other than, yeah, I don't think you missed anything. Yeah, I think you
I
covered it
mean,
all there.
totally, and there's a lot more to cover, and that's kind of the point of
Yeah.
having you on, so hopefully wait to pull this stuff out of you. But I'm looking at the map right here as you're talking about Belize, and to be honest, I didn't even know exactly where Belize sits on the map, so I was actually pulling this up. So for any of you guys that fall in my camp of kind
Yeah,
of
we
bad with
share a land
geography,
border with Mexico on the East Coast. It's nobody knows where Belize is for whatever reason. It's just not, really
so it's
talked about.
technically North America, right? But it's very South North America, is that correct? Because it's right at the bottom
Uh,
of Mexico. It's bottom of Mexico, right next to Guatemala,
it's considered
Honduras.
Central America.
I
So
see, okay.
Belize, it's, they always have Central America in there, but I
Right about
mean,
Central America.
as soon as you cross that border into Mexico, you're considered North America. So I mean, you're right on the
I
cusp,
see.
but it's considered Central America. But then they have Caribbean islands, like we're on one of the keys that is in the Caribbean Sea, technically, and we're only
Beautiful. And
20.
so to give
Yeah,
someone a sense of how what it costs to live in Belize, what does it cost? Like to live a great life. Okay, maybe great, and then there's like really, really, really good, I guess. What does it typically cost somebody if they were to make that move?
I would consider what we're living here really good compared to the local
Canada,
Belizeans.
Canada. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like compared to that, but compared to Canada, yeah, it's a whole other. It's compared to North America, like, um, but I'll start there. It's like cost of living is high on the Keys. So the Keys is just a word, same idea as an island ultimately. So everything is imported. Our island is, doing the quick math, from kilometers to miles, is about 3 miles by a half mile. So it's small, right?
Right.
Population's about 2,500. In high season, tourist season, it doubles to about 45 to 5,000. Um, things here are expensive, but good. Like a two-bedroom apartment it's a concrete wall. That's why I can't hang stuff on it. But it's a temporary apartment here that we had for the last year now. 1,100 US, and then electricity is another 300.
Okay.
So it's not cheap by any stretch. Cauliflower, a head was 15 US dollars, which is kind of ludicrous. Like, but inflation,
Okay.
we're not immune to inflation down here, and everything else, right? It's not just a US problem. It's not just a North American problem or a Canada problem.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I would say
That
you
gives me
could
good
probably,
sense.
pardon?
That gives me a good sense. I mean, essentially, it doesn't sound like it's going from US or Canada to the Philippines. It's not like that, or Thailand.
No,
This
it's not
is
cheap.
Yeah, it's not like cheap. It's just more like it's probably beautiful, and I'm sure you're gonna go into the benefits
Yeah.
of why you made that move. I'm actually very curious of if it's not about the money necessarily, then what was it about it?
Well, conversely, like if you're on the mainland, for example, rent is half, right? All the things cost half. It's just so much. This is a a touristy island that still holds its 40-year ago charm. So there's no cars on the island. Your bicycles, golf cart, taxis, 2 feet in a heartbeat. You're hoofing it everywhere unless you choose to, ride a bike. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, so like health benefits that way. Yes, things are more expensive, but they also have much, shorter expiry or shelf life. So the food, for example, produce and stuff, you got 4 or 5 days tops, unless it's unripened. But once it's ripe, it's not like at home where our stuff through the winters were had to be pumped full of hormones and chemicals and preservatives to last 2 weeks up to on a truck, and then 2 weeks on a Walmart shelf before it lasts another week or two in your fridge or on your counter. Right? These are
Mm,
things that are going bad in 4 or 5 days from once they've been harvested because they're that much better for you ultimately. That said, walking here, the first 6 months, I dropped 32 pounds. I think I put on another two or three, but
wow.
30 pounds. Yeah, I went from 215 to 185
Just
by
because
the
you're
time.
moving. Just because you're moving. You're moving
Just
around.
moving.
You're just
Yeah,
using your
we sit
body.
around
Yeah.
perpetually click, right? I used to joke that this was my workout, right? Get the,
Mm,
mouse clicking finger worked out, and that's it. That was my warm up for the day. But yeah, no, other than, we had 3/4 of an acre back home. So like we're not really walking the dog. You go to the dog park for the socialization element, and then we're just running around the yard, right? So it's
mm.
not like, but here we're walking everywhere, and we're moving, we're doing things, we're eating better food. The dairy, like I was like, what are these cows? Like I remember being in Costa Rica for the first time as like a home away from home for 30 days, and we saw these dairy cows in the mountain, and they don't look like the Holsteins or whatever, like the black and white ones back home, right? They were all these dark and brown and not beautiful looking cows by any stretch, but you could see the ribs on all of them. And I'm like, oh God, they're sickly, right? But no, it's because they're not supposed to put out 70 plus liters of milk a day. They're eating grass all day. They're healthy cows, but the dairy industry in North America is like these cows are just pumped full of stuff to produce more, and it's pretty gross when you see that, right? When you
Get
kind of
it.
connect that. So like we cut out not dairy but milk back home just because doctors was like, yeah, no, that's one of the most inflammatory things you could ever have if you have joint issues or any kind of things. But then the dairy down here is completely different, right? We don't have any
Wow.
ramifications. It's yeah, it's and eggs too. I didn't know, but eggs don't need to be in a fridge. They're only in a
I've
fridge in
heard this
North
before.
America
Mm.
because they're washing the membrane off and they're putting chemicals on it to reduce the longevity of the shell to sterilize them. But all it means is that now you have to refrigerate them. They can last like 4 or 5 weeks at room temperature if you don't wash
Wild.
the eggshell.
So,
Crazy. And
like,
that's normal.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry. Yeah.
no,
Tangents,
no,
right?
it's good. No, it's really good. I mean, the interesting thing is that a lot of people listening to this, I remember I'm putting myself back in their shoes. They are probably driving home from work, maybe on the lunch break at work, and it maybe stuck in this like 9 to 5 type of deal, or maybe they're a full-time mom and they're a full-time parent, full-time dad, and they're just like, I need to create some sort of optionality, freedom in my life. And wow, Jay has created this life to where he can literally pick up what he's done in Canada, leave leave this home country and actually go all the way down to Belize and actually set up a new life. And his income really hasn't taken a hit. I want that type of option. Now, I might not necessarily want to live in Belize, but I want the option to be able to go to Belize. I want the option to be able to go to see my parents in the central USA and stay there for 2 weeks or something like this. How did you Okay, maybe not how. Let's talk about what type of income streams did you have when you kind of felt comfortable enough to do that? You saw on Amazon, you
Mhm.
saw on Etsy, you do these other things now at this point. You have some rental income, but like, at what point did you feel confident? You're like, I have enough to make this move.
Um, at no point. At no point, man. Same idea with leaving the bank. I just needed to make a mental and physical shift for my health. So it was sink or
How
swim
much
for
money were
me.
you making at? How much were you making when through your online business before you made the move from your bank? Did you make anything? Did you have any income coming in?
Freelance graphic design. I hadn't done
Okay.
POD yet, so I was doing that. I was probably doing about 50K a year, which isn't enough to sustain a mortgage even 12 years ago or 13 years ago. Not enough to sustain a mortgage and,
No, totally. Family
everything
and
else
stuff,
you
yeah.
need, right? It's just not. But it was, well, basically just enough, like to the penny. But I was going in the hole, like, $200 every month, and like debt was accruing. But if I had stayed at the bank job, which I was getting paid close to double with bonuses and stuff at the time, it I probably wouldn't be here today, and not that I mean I wouldn't be alive, but I got to a point with that stressful, toxic corporate workplace culture that I was trying to actually hurt myself on a in a way that I just wouldn't have to go to work that day. And I'm like, maybe I could shut my hand in the car door just to break my finger, and then I have a cast and I can't click the mouse. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm gonna put myself through 6 weeks of injury just so I don't have to go to, like, what are you thinking, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you start talking to somebody else, a counterpart at work who's also a team leader, manager, lower, entry level management, and he says, "Jay, have you ever thought about hurting yourself just enough to get out of work, or like what you can do
Wow.
to get out of work?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, like I am not alone in this." Like that is, not only is it like just mind blowing to look back and think that I had those thoughts, but also to realize that other people were having the same thoughts at the same time.
Mm.
Like, yeah, it makes you wonder, right?
Our mind
Um,
does weird things. Yeah, I agree. So you went from such great to kind of summarize the story that you have is you have a bank job, you're making about 100K plus per year. Successful job, right? From most people's
just
standards.
with bonuses, I was hitting that 6K back then. Yeah, so good by
Cool.
all standards for sure.
Yeah, great, great, yeah. And so you make this, but you're kind of unhappy deep down. So then you start freelancing on the side. You make about 50K a year on average,
Mhm.
and still not enough to really live that life that kind of to fully be net positive. But you made that move. It sounds like did freelancing for a while, and then you eventually jumped into this other forms of online digital entrepreneurship, which is POD, selling products online, all this other stuff. And then since then, it's like you've transitioned to teaching people also. So you still keep doing this stuff, but now it's like people have been knocking on your door, banging on your door, saying, "Hey, teach me, teach me, teach me how to design, teach me how to create online income." And so naturally, you just kind of got pulled in that direction, and now all of a sudden, you're doing those things, and you've kind of transformed your life in a matter of 10 years. It sounds like is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, 12 now. My stuff was first being sold in 2012 on Etsy, but I didn't have my own shop until 2013. So one of the freelance graphics elements ended up being a guy I hammered out, and it turns out there's a limit of 200, but I hammered out classified ads on Craigslist and Kijiji. It's a Canadian kind of version of Craigslist. But yeah, there was a limit on those, and one of the guys that hired me for one of the freelance gigs was t-shirt designer, because I had been designing t-shirts and airbrushing t-shirts as a kid in high school and whatnot. Um, he hired me to design for him, and he was plotting stuff like vinyl. So he was doing heat transfer vinyl. My designs were next level compared to what he was able to do, so that he was able to just focus on the production element while I handled the design. He was paying me 15 bucks Canadian, so about 10 or so 11 US per design. And then I was like, well, this guy's selling those designs over and over. I'm watching his numbers in his store go up, right? So I changed that agreement to $3 royalty per t-shirt and $5 a hoodie. And then that was kind of, you know, the first kind of introduction for me, just by osmosis. I had no idea what passive income was, but that was the first kind of thing where I could create something once and have it generate perpetual income, right? So not that it was fully passive, because there's work in the front end, but like when that stuff is selling over here for the next year and I'm working over here, then that's, passive income coming
It's
in, which
mostly
is
massive.
mind blowing. Yeah. Um, yeah. And then it
Wow.
wasn't long after that where I just decided, like, what am I doing? Like, I can create my own Etsy shop, and then he would fulfill for me and just bill me what he bills me. And then that was, organically fell into print on demand. So he's literally making my shirts on demand, printing, packaging, and shipping. And I'm continuing to design in very much in the same way I operate 12 years later, right? In terms of
It's
like the
crazy.
business model. So yeah, kind of nuts, right?
It is nuts. Do you
Before,
feel like
yeah,
right.
before direct to garment was like this household name, and print on demand was even a household name, right?
It's insane, yeah, and the evolution of print on demand is it's kind of taking digital entrepreneurship to the next level. I would say it kind of creates all of a sudden we have these creators that they're not limited by the materials that that they have around them. They're not limited by the suppliers that they have, in their
Yeah.
local town, or even going to Alibaba and going to China and all this stuff anymore. It's like, no, I don't need to have $5,000 to launch a shop like you did on Amazon FBA when I was first starting, or probably still do actually for a lot of Amazon inventory holding type of businesses. Um, does most of your, I guess, product income come from either Etsy or Amazon? Like, do you have one or the other, like you just feel like you crush on?
Yeah, Amazon has been probably the one that I feel like I don't know. It's kind of a weird take on it, maybe, but I feel like I crush it on Amazon because it's mostly passive. I do a little bit of work. If sales start to dip, they very much like Etsy, like respect or reciprocate with being active in your account, right? So if you're working on it, that doesn't mean just throwing up a bunch of crap, but it just means like if you're actually actively like building on things. So when I upload some stuff in Amazon, I'll see a spike that'll last 2 or 3 weeks because I focus on typically evergreen, so it's not stuff that'll peak and then drop. I won't have a significant peak, but I might not have a significant valley. So it'll peak a little bit and then slowly phase, and then I can just lather, rinse, repeat. Where Etsy has been validating it in that I'm crushing it, so to speak, in a way that I can throw up a design in the niches I'm in, and I know that it'll sell. And if it takes longer than 3 days, it's like I have to revisit it. I didn't get any likes or favorites in 3 days, right? But typically, I can get something, because it's well researched and I know the market I'm targeting. I can get a design validated on Etsy, and typically, under 3 days, right? Like 2 3 days, it'll
Interesting.
make a sale.
A lot of people listening to that, they're just like, "How the hell does Jay do that?" Right? And I know that you use EverBee, and people listening to this, most of them use EverBee too. But they haven't really connected all the dots on how to actually validate those products before they go live with the products, and then what does validation even mean? Can you share anything to help them with their, like, the EverBee journey and, like, doing the research ahead of time?
Yeah, so this is one thing that I can't stand when people preach, look for low competition. And yes, the high demand element is there. If you can get validate a niche with high demand based on what your EverBee research or whatever you want to do. Like I love that you guys have the Chrome extension, because I'm not one to pull up the platforms and do deep dives into all these metrics, because at the end of the
Same.
day, if you don't know how to apply the metrics, and I think people spend too much time in that stuff as newbie sellers, what the tools that you're providing basically consolidate everything really quickly, and the Chrome extensions are allow you to do that without skipping a beat or switching to a next page, so you're right in Etsy when you're doing it. But people, I think, you know and it's a result of people with fast win success over COVID, right? Like my first 6K year was in 2015 with print on demand, not some lucky COVID thing, because we had a captive audience, which, I mean, no, no, uh, not speaking ill of anybody who had. And I think it's great that we have a community now, an actual community, because at the time there was only like 2 or 3 people that even knew what print on demand was. Um, but when people start telling newbies to focus on SEO first and this and that, I think it's detrimental, because then you're starting to look at search volume versus low competition. So for me, I think sometimes the high competition leads people to say things like, "Oh, it's oversaturated, it's oversaturated, it's oversaturated." Well, all that means to me is that you're afraid of competition, right? Oversaturation. When you say that it's oversaturated, all I hear is, "I'm afraid of competition." And that is not how you're going to learn and thrive and be able to pivot and make better designs. Because at the end of the day, all the SEO in the world isn't going to make your design sell if your design does not look good and does not hit and resonate with that customer. That's all there is to it. So when you look at, high demand, high demand, high demand, great. Low competition, sometimes low competition just means low demand. And you can't, focus on the low competition. And a lot of times the high competition stuff, let's be real, man, it's because of a lot of YouTubers and influencers showing people that are all these, that do the weekly niches and stuff like that, or new ideas. All of that competition is, I would argue, a good 70-80% of it is basically copies of bestsellers. So it's not even what I would consider real competition. It's just the amount of results, right? It's just the amount of actual
People typing in
listings
the
that,
search bar. Yeah.
yeah, it's just what it is, right? It doesn't mean that any of those, yes, there's that many potential listings or results, but that doesn't mean that
Mm.
any of them are selling, right? It's, you're taking, take that top 5 or 10% of those, and then you look at that and look at the ones that actually have sales. Uh,
What I'm
but
hearing
yeah,
is like you have this mindset of, hey, product first. Like I would describe this as product first. You're saying design first, but I basically, to me, on Etsy or Amazon,
it's
it's
the
like your design
package.
is your
Yep.
product. Yeah, it's like that
Yep.
is the thing that you're selling, like the beautiful, aesthetically pleasing design. And now, if that product looks bad or that design looks bad, then you could have the most optimized. You could be in the you know demand of, let's say this thing's doing $100,000 a month, but like the competition is only like 5 competitors. But if your design sucks, like you're not gonna get that many sales. Your competitors will always win. And so you're saying is that I don't think you're taking away that SEO is not important. It's more so
No.
about it's not as important as the design. You need to have a great design first.
Yeah, I think so. In the beginning, SEO is absolutely crucial, right? You need to be able to get eyes on your prize. There's no way around it. I just think that people put too much focus on that. So once
I agree.
you have done your niche research and ultimately understand the market you're trying to target, and you're looking at the best sellers and the actual, and you can validate this stuff with EverBee too, is like the listings that have actual, not only search volume, but they're validated. They have actual sales numbers. Those are, where you can start gleaning information from. What do all of these best sellers have in common? Is there a design aesthetic? Is there, a font preference? Is there a color palette? Is there some kind of seasonal element that maybe you can apply to your idea to make it kind of, feel like it's up to date or on trend, right? It's not just about the amount of the search volume at the end of the day. And I think like SEO, you need to get, I guess, you need to get eyes on your prize as a new seller in any algorithm, right? So, and the only way to do that is with SEO.
Yeah.
But that's why I also implore people to run ads on a new shop with listings with zero sales history, so that you can kind of use it as testing ground. You're not there to make money at the time. You're there to gather as much information and accrue as much data as absolutely possible in a 30-day window or in a short amount of time. So you can tell what is actually getting seen and getting clicks based on, that's going to be based on largely SEO, right? From there, you can take that data and apply it to the design element, right? Because at the end of the day, again, regardless of how much money you're pumping on ad dollars and how much money you're spending on SEO tools and all the refining, you're not going to sell if it doesn't look good. So it's the whole package there.
You have this interesting perspective on design, and I feel like it would be unjust for us to not dive in deeper on design. So maybe if we can leave our people listening to this with like, hey, here's the 3 things you need in your design, or the 5 things, or what is the most common mistake people are making in their designs. And this can be applied to Amazon. This can be applied to your Etsy. This can be applied to if you have a website specifically, like if you have it's basically your design of your images or maybe design of the product. What do you see as the most common mistake? And then how do we solve that mistake in your opinion?
There's a couple of things. So over designing is one thing. So A is like, if you suck at design, suck and bold is something I've always said, right? If you're gonna suck, do it boldly and loudly so that it's obvious. Because if you've got a design that is, call it mediocre, but it's not, it's not readable, like not the legibility element, which is completely different. Like legibility is how you can read words, the readability of the garment. So if you can digest that listing photo, right? If it's, word heavy or text heavy, and you're not zoomed in enough on that listing photo, then people are going to click on it to see what it is that they're looking at, because you showed up in the search results for the whatever their query is. But B, then they're going to blow it up to see that, oh well, now I don't like it because I don't like the design. And then, you know it's doubly brutal if you're paying for ads on those SEO terms, because now you've paid for that click for them to click on your design, decide they don't like it, and tank your conversion. You're literally paying to kill your shop, right? So I think that is one thing, is like over designing or cramming too much and not presenting it properly. So if
So the rule there is to make sure that you can read. So if it says that like you are my sunshine on the shirt, for example,
make sure
then
that
make
is
sure that they can read that from the search results, not
correct.
necessarily only from the click. It needs to be in the search results. So that way you're not wasting clicks and then killing your click-through rate, which kills the algorithm because they're just gonna be like, well, This thing
Tells
obviously doesn't
Etsy
go very
that
well.
why would I show this in the search results if nobody wants it, right? It's getting the
Mm.
clicks and then people are deciding against it. So yeah,
So
I
make
mean,
it
you're
readable from the search results. Very
yeah.
important. I agree. I see this a lot. Actually, I never really heard anyone put it like you just put it though.
Yeah, suck
And
and bold, right? So people can know that they don't like it, and at least it's not gonna tank your conversion rates, right? Because no one's gonna click on
mm,
it.
suck
Yeah.
and bold. Like it.
Yeah, it's, I should put it on a shirt, right?
There you
Um,
go. Make it readable. Make
but,
sure you make it readable though.
yeah, and then the other thing is, like, cramming too much or over designing. People think the more you add, the better, but the acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid. The more elements you introduce into a design, the more aesthetically educated and artistically educated you need to be to make sure that they all jive and they have the balance and the hierarchy and all the elements that make a good design. If you don't have a grasp or a handle on that, you're just going to be creating this. It's not going to look like a beautiful collage. It's going to look like a not so beautiful scrapbook, really, of mismatched elements, clip art versus like some distressed elements, or then couple it with a weird chalky font or some script font that is super hard to read. Yeah, so people over designing all the time is a big one too. Less is more in every aspect of the word. And then
Mm,
price to make profits. Like my pricing strategy, and I used EverBee's calculator just to verify, because I used to say that the goal was to make 35% profit margin on while having a 35% off sale, and that would put you at around when I'm selling my Gildan 64,000s for like 2750 with a 575 shipping price. That would put me around that 32 plus marker, and that would put me at like 8 and change, 875 or so if I recall. But when I'm not running that 35% off sale, I'm up over 50% margin, and that's where you start making real money. But I've since bumped up stuff, so I'm at like 575 shipping and then 29.50. So I believe with the 35% off sale, I'm still making a 40% margin, so I'm like $9 and
amazing.
change. Yeah, and then a testament to
For
that is like
t-shirts. To be clear, this is t-shirts, correct?
on
Print
the
on demand
Gildan
t-shirt.
64,000 soft style.
So
Yeah,
yep.
not even an expensive T-shirt.
I
You know
think
what I
I'm
mean?
hearing people right now, they're just like, how would anybody pay $35, $36 for a t-shirt? How would you answer that?
Get out of your own head, get out of your own way.
Mm,
It's not about you, right? It's like, just because you wouldn't pay $30 for a t-shirt doesn't mean the rest of the world won't. And then the other thing is, like, you have that $18 t-shirt selling, you know what's going to happen? They're going to be like, well, I ordered it on Thursday. I was hoping to get it Friday. It's now Saturday and it isn't here. Can I return it when I get it? You're going to get the design isn't as bright as I thought it was. Your size charts are accurate, but I saw one review out of your 20,000 reviews that said that I should size up. So I sized up and now I don't like it. You're going to get all the headaches on the planet versus selling to a $30 t-shirt. That customer, you're not going to hear from at all, except for when they leave 5-star review. Nice
mm.
t-shirt. Thanks so much. You know what I
So you're
mean?
saying
Like,
the customer is different. You mean the customer's mind mentality is different when they make that $35 purchase for that shirt?
absolutely.
You're saying
You,
that person is different.
yeah, the higher prices command a higher quality and caliber customer. Absolutely. It's all about the
Mm,
perceived value. Like, you look, and I'm not talking about a $18 shirt. You want to compete with them. Don't charge $2 more, because that's going to invite scrutiny, right? You want to not invite scrutiny. You want to set yourself apart by charging the $12 more, $30, 29.50. They're like, oh, well, clearly, ask any 8 or 9 or 10-year-old kid, which one do you think is more valuable, and show them the prices. Like, which one do you think is the better product?
mm. Same
Same
thing with
design, same
wine.
everything. They're gonna pick the most expensive one, right? It's just
You have
you're
$5
just
wine, and then you have a $25 bottle of wine, and you're just like, "Oh, which one if it's for a nice dinner, which one are you gonna buy?" Right? You're gonna
yeah.
splurge, you're gonna 25.
Doesn't mean it's that much better, but the perceived element there is that it's going to be a finer quality, a nicer on the palate. Yeah,
That's interesting. I just
so
learned
many
something
things.
there too, and I think a lot of people can pull that away is don't you said something, you said, "Don't charge $2 more than that $18 shirt. Charge,
Yeah,
like, wait,
significant.
$12 more." Yeah,
Yeah.
significant to where it's almost like you're not even comparing to, you're actually going after a different customer there. Now, why in your somebody's asking this right now, why though would they pay $12 more for the same design? Or maybe you can answer this with, like, maybe it's not the same design. Um, how do you view this? Is it simply just price? Like, it can be the same design and you could be $12 more, or do you have to add in some other flavor there somehow?
Yeah, I think a lot of it again comes down to how you package it. So make sure that if you understand the niche you're serving, then you're going to be able to speak to them in ways outside of just the design. So the design has to be great, but like the elements on the mock-up, right? If they're my wife sells in a big dog breed shirt shop, but she's also making like 12, 13 US dollars a profit per t-shirt. Um, on the Bell and canvas as predominantly for her, but like the elements on there, the funny little the dog toys that might be in the mock-up, that you can build these on your own, or you could we just shot a couple on the ground. It doesn't have to be hard. um, but now you just do it 3 or 4 times and you've got your own mock-ups too, right? But like the little elements that speak to the customer in ways that outside of the design, right? So the color schemes, the elements in the background, even what you're putting on the shirt. If you know the niche inside out, the idea is to get them to wear something that other people, when they look at them, say, "Where'd you get that shirt?" Right? That is the goal.
Mm,
That's the impact you want every single time. So I think if you can figure out how to do that and make stuff that when people are wearing, other people see it and say, "Where'd you get that shirt? Oh my god, I love it."
mm,
That's where you're going to set yourself apart, because you're going to have these brand ambassadors. I'm not talking paid influencers, but you're going to have people going to the dog park wearing that stuff, saying, like, showing it off because they're proud, right?
yeah, they're
If
proud of
it's,
it.
you know what I mean? That's something that people will
Yeah.
buy for themselves too, right? And
You know what I
not
like
just
about
as
this conversation? You know what I like about this is what you said is, you're kind of making it about, again, about the customer. Like, hey,
absolutely.
you're designing with a goal in mind. And what's the goal? The goal is that you have a customer that buys your shirt and they go to the park and someone's asked them, hey, where did you get that shirt?
Hmm.
That's the goal. Now you
Hmm.
reverse engineer from that goal and say, how do I make a design that somebody would say that? Versus, I think lots of people listening to this right now, and I don't blame them, but a lot of people listening to this right now, they say, how do I make $10 profit from a shirt? It's they're asking from selfishly, like they're starting
Yep.
from the wrong place. They need to start we need to start from the customer in mind, work backwards. How do I build so much value in a design that I'm willing to charge $35 for the shirt? And
And
start
it
with them in mind, and it creates a different behavior for us.
Yeah, and it sounds so counterintuitive, but the best way and fastest way to sell more is to stop trying to sell stuff, right? Stop trying to just make things that other people are doing. Stop trying to mimic or emulate all the best sellers in the same way without bringing some kind of, unique value to it, right? Like you get these acronyms UVP tossed around, like unique value proposition. What sets yourself away? Maybe it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could just be text on a shirt, but because you offered customization, then you set yourself apart in a way that you're satiating this need for this emotional connection that people have. We all want to feel like we're a part of something. So if you can, like, give them that, sell the emotion, sell the, the feeling behind it. That's the kind of thing that I think, your marketing and however you're packaging your stuff can speak to. But just trying to literally sell stuff uh, is not going to get you there. Look at the end customer. Like I just said, like, who you want people to be proud of what they're wearing, not just buying it as a gift for somebody who's going to wear once and toss, right?
Love it. I have a couple
Yeah.
questions, and I think some people are
Sure.
wondering right
Shoot.
now.
Yeah.
So you sell on Etsy, Amazon, and then do you also sell any of these brands or any of these designs on a specific website of your own as well, or just Etsy and Amazon?
I have
A Shopify
a
store or a Wix store, anything like that?
Yeah, so I have a Shopify that I haven't touched in 5 years. It's still kind of, I
Okay,
get the odd order trickle in, and then I have same thing like Redbubble and TeePublic that still churn out 100-ish, 50. I think TeePublic last month was like $22 or something like that. But so not making a
nice.
ton of money there. But Christmas comes and they each of them generate like a couple $100 a month, which I know
Okay,
is enough to pay bills for some people, right? It's still still money, but the bread and butter has largely been Etsy and Amazon by far.
beautiful. Okay, my
Yeah,
questions will be more for those then. Do you
sure,
do Etsy ads or Amazon ads?
absolutely, all of it. You need to.
Okay,
Um, No, I mean, the idea is to put your brand, and that's the other thing, right? I'd rather be niched over the general store. They both can work, but I think if you can work smarter, not harder, if you just get to know your target market and make them proud of, wearing things, and then you'll have,
that was my
it's
next
way
question.
easier. Yeah, it's way easier to have a repeat customer than it is to sell a new customer, right? So make things in the shop that somebody's going to buy 3 or 4 of, right? In the same vein, same,
Mm,
idea. Like large breed dogs are Great Danes. Well, why would you only have one Great Dane shirt in a large breed dog? shop, right?
Beautiful. That
Have
was my
three or four,
questions.
you know. Yeah,
Golden.
but advertise the crap out of it in the beginning to glean data from what's going on over a 30-day window at least. I would argue maybe a fifth week in there, because so you definitely cross two paydays, right? There's a psychology behind that too. A lot of people add to cart. Why aren't they checking out? Well, maybe they're waiting for a payday. Maybe they're shopping early and they just don't want to miss an opportunity. But um, look at the data over at least a 30-day span. Um, and then hone in on that, but and refine. Look at what's costing you clicks but not making sales. Amazon, I think it's almost a necessity. I used to list um, and then not run ads to anything unless I've seen no traction in 7 days, but now I just put ads on everything, because I know, ultimately, I know my niche enough, and I know what I'm designing with the intention that this customer is already going to want. So again, go back to Tony Robbins saying success leaves clues. Pay attention to what your customers want. They will tell you
Mhm.
what they want for a design. Make the design. It will sell, because you're making something that somebody has already told you they wanted, if not by them even reaching out, but by your sales history, right? There's all kinds of ways. And then advertise it, because you're ultimately making something that already has been validated. It's been proven, right? So it makes only all of the sense to, you know, spend some ad money, because even if you rank organically in, which could be great and does happen, but if you start to trickle, because competition inevitably will come in, the ads will help keep you at the top of that list, right? Ultimately, so and that's where you
Beautiful.
want to be. Yeah.
How many listings Amazon merch is a little bit different, but I'm
Mhm.
curious, how many Amazon merch listings, and then how many Etsy listings do you have?
So Amazon merch is it's going to sound like a lot, but 1,600 unique designs, and it's so listings is a different thing, because you can list one design and apply it to a bunch of products. So I don't know, it's
Okay.
probably maybe 100K products, but that's also very small numbers. I typically list with more intention. I do everything with more intention. So I make a T-shirt design. That does not mean I'm going to throw it on a tumbler or a throw pillow or all the a shower curtain or whatever products, depending on the platform. Uh, I list for t-shirts and sweatshirts predominantly, and if something can translate to something else, then maybe. But design with the product in mind too, not just that's another design element, right? Because people design for and then throw it up on as many products as they want. That's not a great customer experience. And your designs, um, "Ooh, baby, it's cold outside" doesn't make sense on a tank top or a racerback t-shirt, right? Like people
Mm,
just don't think about this stuff, but um, so I'm in tier 8,000 on Amazon merch. I have 1,600 live designs. I'll probably never get out of that tier. And if you know anything about Amazon merch, in order to tier up, you need to have at least 80% of those slots filled. So what would that be? Whatever, 80% of, so 6,400 designs, I think, something like
okay.
that. Um, and for me, I'll probably never get there. I'll never make that many on Amazon or on Etsy. Conversely, my very first shop, which was my general store, I've got under 600. I used to have up to 700 or 750 or so, and that's slowly kind of trickled down as, again, 12 years later, the designs have definitely gotten better and I know more what I'm doing. So even that's taking more of a, not ultimately like super niched, but I've definitely got more of a target audience there, right? So we're not talking like a niche, we're talking, a general target
Mhm.
trajectory for who I'm targeting there. But across four of my stores combined, I have less than 1,000 listings. So it's not a numbers
Wow.
game. It's not a quantity over quality. Quantity is only good if you can maintain the quality. Otherwise, and we're not talking about Picasso's here, right? We're not talking about something that you need like a piece of fine art. It just has to hit the nail on the head and resonate with the niche. It doesn't have to be overdone and over designed, like I mentioned. But yeah, no, I got three shops with under 250 listings, and they make the equivalent of what you would consider a full time income.
Let's go,
Um,
man. That's amazing.
yeah,
You ready for, the rapid fire questions?
yeah, let's do it. Hit me.
What's your favorite business book?
Oh man, probably the 4 Hour Work Week, and I can't even say I've ever finished it. I just keep getting distracted. I've got a brain like a sieve, but also ADHD bouncing around.
I love
And
that.
it's
It's a perfect book
yeah,
for you, by the way. You're living in Belize, for God's sakes. Yeah, it makes sense.
yeah,
What's the
business book.
one thing that you wish that you knew before starting your business?
Uh, Imposter syndrome is real, and you can't beat it. So don't let it stop you. It's never going to go away. Just get outside your
Keep
comfort zone
going.
and get comfortable being outside your comfort zone.
Let's go. What's the worst advice that you've ever received about business? The worst advice.
So much for rapid fire. The worst advice. Uh, Probably that you should price low to get initial sales in the door. That's probably one of the worst, because if you're again niched and not just general store with thousands of listings trying to cater to everybody, then you can set yourself apart. Then you definitely don't need to start at bargain basement prices and devalue yourself.
Interesting. So just charge $12, like make your margin from the beginning. That's what you're saying.
I would, yeah, if you truly understand your niche, for sure. If you're charging general store, if you're doing a general store type thing and you're throwing up 2 or 3 thousand listings, which you're going to need to do that, then you're going to have to compete on other
And
elements
price.
like price,
Mm,
right?
beautiful. How many hours do you think that you work in your business per week now?
Altogether on all businesses, like more than a full-time job. I love what I do. It's rewarding, fulfilling to be able to help people get to new levels. Do my POD shops, and does my POD game proper suffer as a result? Absolutely. I've been running Etsy challenges, 30-day Etsy challenges since like our first one I think was 2018 or 2019, and we did them right in September. So like the entire 30 days of September, or middle of September into middle of October, and then one was all of October. Those are, crucial months if you're trying to get stuff up. But I, we always put helping other people ahead of our own sales. So yeah, man, I work a lot. I work a lot. I
Love
enjoy it,
that.
every minute of
Sounds
it. I
like you
love
enjoy it.
people. Like, yeah, I love it. I love it though. And the idea for me was just to be able to have a different scenery when I go out and leave the house. I want to get to a point eventually though when I can dial everything back. And for that to happen, I realize that I'll have to narrow my income streams so I can just have something, on auto, and then kind of just get back to maybe doing design. But right now it's been so fulfilling to help so many people with like in the membership group and stuff like that, um, but at least I'm getting kind of compensated for that, because I was helping people for free in my Facebook group for 7 or 8 years.
Mm,
You know what I mean? For free.
yeah.
It's like, well, yeah.
I've always felt like money is the byproduct of just the amount of people that you help and the impact that you make, right? So money just
And
comes
that's it.
naturally.
It goes back to it's exactly it. Money is the byproduct, and I truly understand that now. And it's one of the things where it's like that's kind of what I said. Like, you'll start making money as soon as you stop trying to sell stuff. As soon as you stop trying to push things and have that MO of making the money. As soon as you just try to uh, be provide a service or help people do better, and have kind of like stick to, understand what motivates you. And for me, it's seeing other people win in a time or in a place or in a pivot that they didn't think was even possible, right? I want people
Yeah.
to want more out of life, so to be able to open their eyes to that, I think, is probably the most gratifying and satisfying and validating thing I think out there. But yeah, so much for rapid fire.
No, it's good. If your family and your friends and maybe your customers and people that have worked with you, if they had to get together and write an honest article about Jay and you could not be involved in this process, okay? They had to characterize your traits, good and also the bad. What are some of the things that they would say?
I hope the good is that he's genuine, he's real. We know he wants to help. The bad, for sure, part and parcel with, the way my brain works. He doesn't shut up. He interrupts all the time. I'm always cutting people off in conversation. I just can't. It's like something jumps in, I have to get it out. It's genuine, it's real. I can't change it. I'm trying to be more conscious of it. Uh, it might think I'm pompous, but I don't want to come off as that at all. Like, you know, I'm confident in what I do now, because there was a time where I would be in a room and like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I sell novelty T-shirts online. No, no, but what do you really do? Like that not your side hustle or whatever. Like, no, I sell. Well, how do you pay the mortgage? I'm like, I sell more T-shirts. You know what I mean? Like, and now it was, I was always hesitant, but now it's like, oh yeah, no, I have a couple Etsy shops. I sell print on demand. It's just matter of fact, right? So like, back then, when I was making that transition, I maybe was trying to, you know, get everybody to buy into this idea. But now it's like I realize you can't change people. So instead of me saying how much sales I'm making all the time, it's not about that anymore. So I think like part of the bad would be people maybe seeing me as gloating in a way. I hope not, but I don't know.
I have a
Um,
strong feeling that's not true. I have a feeling that's why you come across so modest and humble, because
oh
you're
man,
probably afraid of that, but you're actually not that way.
I again, imposter syndrome is real, so I overcompensate. Um,
We all
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Beautiful. Where can people find you, Jay? Where can people work with you? Where can people, follow you and understand more about what you do, get your free content? You're doing all kinds of cool stuff. Where can people get closer to you?
Yeah, so my Facebook group, I'm just gonna it's Jay's Way Print on Demand. I'm just going to or no, sorry, that's the Facebook group is called uh Jay's Way Etsy by Print on Demand. The Facebook group is Jay's Way Print on Demand is the actual group you can type into the search bar.
We'll also link to everything below, by the way.
Sure, cool. At Jay's Way Works on YouTube. And again, it's called Jay's Way because there's a million and one ways to win. This is just what I've practiced and what's worked for me. So that's why it's called Jay's Way. It's not the only way or anything like that. And then I do have my inner circle membership. It's jaysway.works slash forward slash inner circle. It's currently closed until the new year. We're, buckling down and we're trying to get everybody, where we need to be through Q4. So sorry about that. But we will be reopening, I think probably February or so, give or take, in the new year. But unfortunately, we're closed for now, um, just because it is that time, and we're trying to help as many people inside. And I don't want to stop being able to over deliver. That's kind of always what I've done, and I like adding new things and over delivering. So,
Love
but
it.
otherwise, yeah, you can just hit me up anytime. Jay@jaysway.works email address if you want to ask any advice or anything like that, or comment in on YouTube, any of the stuff. Other than that,
Beautiful.
I'm around, man. I'm around. I'm an open book, and I'm gonna shoot you straight.
I love that. Thank you for that. By the way, for anybody listening or watching this, we're gonna link to all those links in the description below if it's YouTube or in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. Jay, brother, thank you, man. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you sharing
Thank
your
you for having me.
oh man, it's a blast. Grateful for you. And I'm excited to have you come back on and kind of get an update and just we should do this every few months for sure.
I think so too. I like the idea, chatting with some other YouTubers that we're in a chat together too. It's just like,
Mhm.
um, like these roundtable discussions, right? Maybe we could take on some questions or from the audience and just hit them rapid fire, that type of stuff, right? No fluff, no BS. Just straight to the point. Shoot. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I love it. Jay,
Yeah.
thank you, brother. Have a great day today. See you soon.
You too. Thanks so much, Cody. It's been great.